So welcome back to Castle Combe here in Wiltshire. The Motors TV live race day continues with one of the highlights of the day perhaps about to take place. It is the second round of the Castle Combe Racing Club Formula Ford 1600 Championship. Stephen Jensen is the man on pole position, and Stephen with his Spectrum being run these days by Kevin Mills Racing. Kevin, a multiple FF 1600 champion around here. He's never had a win, Stephen Jensen. Is today going to be the day? Well, let's find out. The first of two races for them, in fact. Half points awarded within the championship in each race. 10 minutes plus a lap is the journey ahead of them. And Stephen Jensen lining up on pole position with Marcus Allen, the reigning champion, alongside him. Marcus now in the Wiltshire College run Spectrum, the Australian-built chassis. And Formula Ford racing is always exciting. The cars, of course, don't have rear wings. They don't have any aerodynamic aids. They're pretty narrow track. They can slipstream around here. They can overtake quite readily. And Formula Ford 1600 particularly is on the up once again, not only with the regional championships like this, or the One Circuit Championships, but also the marquee events such as the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone at the end of every season. An event masterminded by James Beckett, who has joined me here. James, I know Formula Ford is very close to your heart, and this is going to be a cracking race, isn't it?
Oh, the sun's shining on Castle Combe, and Castle Combe always traditionally turns out a fantastic Formula Ford 1600 race, and today should be no different.
Now, where's your money for a race win? As I say, Stephen Jensen's never had a victory, but he's always there or thereabouts in the leading group. Is today the day?
Well, it's really interesting to see that we've got two Australian constructed Spectrums on the front row, and I think that's the first time that two Spectrums have sat alongside on the road together. So yeah, obviously Marcus Allen's the reigning champion. He'll be looking to move himself back into that #1 spot, but all the way down the grid there are potential race winners today.
Now, one of them is Rob Hall, the winner of the Castle Combe Formula Ford Carnival last year, but he has found himself on the back foot a little bit because he blew an engine on Thursday. He's having to use a spare engine, and it's not the quickest, it seems.
No, he struggled in qualifying, that's fair to say. Found himself slightly down on power. Castle Combe's a very fast circuit where slipstreaming really comes into it. So during the course of the race, he may be able to get himself into position to tow up behind his rivals, and the first opening couple of laps should see that.
Now, there's Felix Fischer, the man who is the brother of the championship leader, because Josh won the opening round. Rob Hall was second in the first round a week ago, and Adam Higgins comes from a famous Castle Combe family in a sense, because his dad Bob has won the FF 1600 championship lots and lots and lots and lots of times. So it's motor racing in his blood. The field is just about set. They'll get the warming up lap, then we're going to be in business. The grid is being cleared, but I just wonder whether or not Rob Hall is going to make progress from the outside of the fourth row. He should do. And of course, this grid, this championship, broken into classes based on the age of the car. So all the way through the field are going to be fights to look for.
Yeah, right from the front to the tail end. They're set up in different age categories, so whichever car, depending on the year of manufacture, then it's eligible for a particular class. Formula Ford started back in 1967 and still uses the same engine to this day, the 1600cc Ford Kent engine. And yeah, again, with the nature of the circuit, it just allows fantastic Formula Ford racing.
And Kevin Mills, I talked about in the context of running cars within this championship, including the one that's on pole position. He's a multiple champion himself. Now, one thing that they didn't have in qualifying but have now is cement dust to coat with. We've seen liquid put down on the circuit by errant BMWs, and now, certainly for the first couple of laps, they're going to have to work out exactly where the grip is and where the hazards are in the cement dust, partly because of running over it and also because of the visibility, or lack of it, created by the car ahead going over it.
Well, the majority of the cement dust placed onto the circuit is actually directly off of the grid on through the first couple of corners, through Folly Corner and now down onto the approach of Avon Rise, all the way through Quarry, as you can see there on the screen, and very much on the racing line. So the first lap in particular, and going into the second lap, it will be really important to be at the front of the pack.
Indeed so. Well, the field turning its way up now through Old Paddock. As we say, Formula Ford, a category that dates back to 1967. It was created by, amongst others, John Webb and Motor Racing Stables with the help of Walter Hayes at Ford. And Ford provided the engines really as a starting point for people to work their way up into Formula One. And it continues to do that. Formula Ford has gone through a few incarnations in terms of engines. These cars with the Kent engine, we've since had Z-Tech and now Duratec, but it still stands the test of time and it still provides Formula One drivers. And as the cars turn their way now up towards the completion of this green flag lap, the majority of the FF 1600 drivers, it is fair to say, don't really look at this as a career category anymore. It's just a good club level formula. It gives good racing, low cost racing, very competitive racing. You do get one or two drivers that start off in this for a bit of experience, perhaps if they've not gone karting, and then move on into the Duratec Formula Ford scene. there are one or two drivers that, of course, tried to carve a niche as career racing drivers, couldn't make it, perhaps because there was no money available. You've got one there, Roger Orgy Jr., look, in the black and green car, heading up towards the grid now. Another of the Kevin Mills run Van Diemen's. That's a car from 2000. In other words, it's one that was built for a Zetec engine, now converted to Kent spec. But Roger got himself into Formula BMW, but the money really wasn't there, was it, to keep him going? So now he's accepted his fate, as it were, comes back, just goes racing for fun.
The majority of drivers in Formula Ford now are the type of people that are doing it at the highest level in Britain without the ability to move on into an international category. But the end of season races, the Formula Ford Festival and the Walter Hayes Trophy, still enable young career drivers the chance to cut their teeth in Formula Ford before moving on and into much higher levels, noticeably this year to Indy Lights through people like Joseph Newgarden, Connor Daly, Peter Dempsey,
who've all come through the American sort of scholarship scheme into racing at the end of each season. You're quite right. So the grid is almost complete. We're just about ready then for 10 minutes plus one lap of the Castle Combe Racing Club FF 1600 Championship.
Because we're running out of time. Row 9 is 50.
And we're ready for business then. Last car slots into place, Darren Holcroft, and the drivers now look towards the lighting gantry, because in a moment the board that's shown that says 5 seconds will be replaced by the first of the 5 red lights, and the first light comes on now. Always seems like a long wait for them until all 5 lights are on. Who's going to make the best start? The lights go out. It's a very good start by Adam Higgins from the second row of the grid in the older Van Diemen, who gets away like a robber's dog then round the outside, and he's going to lead the way on the run up towards the first corner. Adam Higgins it is then. There you can see in the red Van Diemen who's up front. He goes across the cement dust line, and look at the lack of visibility now as all of that dust is kicked into the face of the midfield runners. That's going to be very difficult indeed for them to really find a proper line going uphill. But Higgins it is who leads the way. Looks like slotting in behind him is as they turn through Stephen Jensen, and then in third spot Marcus Allen as they accelerate their way out of the first corner then. This again a run up towards the S's where you can do a bit of overtaking if you're really brave on the inside line. Marcus Allen then goes up on the inside, does he? No, not quite. So he's still there in third place as they work their way up now towards Old Paddock for the first time. But Stephen Jensen, I'm afraid, has not really been able to convert that pole position into the lead of the race, has he? He wasn't away all that quickly. No,
Stephen made a poor start, and also being on the right-hand side of the track, he found himself immediately into the cement dust. Adam Higgins managing to make a fantastic start from fourth from the outside of the circuit, took advantage and made a fantastic approach through Folly and into Avon Rise, and now is stretching his legs at the front of the field.
Great battle going on there for second place. Stephen Jensen just ahead of the reigning champion there. Look, Marcus Allen in the car run by Wiltshire College, the Spectrum, the Aussie-built car then. Down they come towards camp. They've got to go back onto that slippery line to get the right line for the corner, and they're a little bit wide, I would suggest. Goes Stephen Jensen in the second spot, rather ahead then of Marcus Allen. And Marcus Allen, somebody else who's certainly got the talent to progress, but has he got the funding? The answer seems to be sadly no, and therefore he remains one of the front runners in this championship, but it would be fascinating to put him into a Duratec race.
Certainly would. He's a young driver, got plenty of talent, and is the reigning champion here, and Adam Higgins now has made advantage and managing to hold sway at the front of the field with the Australian Spectrums right behind him.
So the cars working their way now up towards the S's once again. Adam Higgins then in the older Van Diemen leading the way, but these two new Spectrums right there behind him. In fourth spot also is Andrew Jones, and Rob Hall fifth at the end of lap 1. He's somebody else now coming into the mix as well. The field turning its way then out of the S's through the right-hand road. Old Paddock, car number 11 then. Still pressing on is James Hammond with his French-built Miguel. A challenge being made there on the inside. Marcus Allen trying to get up alongside Stephen Jensen. Couldn't quite do it. They were almost wheel to wheel, but Marcus Allen being intelligent about that, realising that it wasn't quite going to work, so rather than force the issue, he slots back in. We'll try on another corner.
And as they approach through Westway down towards Camp Corner, and Adam Higgins still out front with Stephen Jensen in second place and Marcus Allen in third, and a challenge there for fourth position, and Rob Hall moves in front of Andrew Jones. Andrew, a local driver, lives just 2 minutes down the road here at Castle Combe.
So he's lost a place. Roger Orgy is sixth. Side by side for the race lead now. Higgins on the inside trying to go around the outside of it, absolutely wheel to wheel. Stephen Jensen has done it, and now here comes Marcus Allen. The blue and green and white Spectrum up into second spot, but he's on the outside line, and here around the outside of all of them tries to come Rob Hall, four for the race lead as they dive into Quarry. Hall doesn't manage to get a place, but Adam Higgins has lost two in the space of 2 corners. So now it is Jensen ahead of Allen, and Adam Higgins perhaps inevitably has fallen back into third spot, or has he inevitably, because he fights back on the inside there to try to retake second. It doesn't work. Rob Hall best of the rest in fourth place, and Marcus Allen there getting just a little bit ragged, using all of the road going through the S's.
Well, the Castle Combe crowd here this afternoon are getting a real joy here. The the slippery shape of the Spectrum cars and the slipstreaming down across the start line and towards Quarry Corner just enabled the two cars to move ahead of Adam Higgins. Some fantastic oversteer action there at Tower Corner, especially from young Adam Higgins, whose father Bob's a former multiple champion here at Castle Combe. He's a chip off the old block.
Absolutely right. More floppy markers go flying as they try and just clip the curb going out of Bobby's. Adam Higgins now gets in the slipstream. Rob Hall is fourth in the blue and white car. The race leader, though, Stephen Jensen, is getting away. Higgins to the outside. Hall to the inside. He's going to go through for third place. Great move. There through on the inside line goes the man who was the winner of the Carnival last year. So Rob Hall in the 2010 built Swift up into third place. And remember, of course, that he's doing all of this from 8th on the grid, underlining that point about how well he can slipstream and overtake around here.
Yeah, and of course Rob Hall's car is constructed here at Castle Combe as well by Alan Cooper, and as you can see by the white and blue car is so low to the ground. It's a really low line current specification Formula Ford built for Castle Combe and showing great pace.
There's Chris Acton, the BA 747 pilot, going pretty well. Lower down the order with his 2008 built Ray, and the race leaders work their way now out of the S's. A little bit wide there goes Marcus Allen. He can ill afford to do things like that because Rob Hall's going to be right up with him. 5.5 minutes are still on the clock. Race leaders working their way down now towards Tower. Class battles are still raging on as well. Adam Higgins then down in fourth overall, but he leads his class, and that's going to be important for points in the championship. There is Higgins in the red Van Diemen, turns his way out of Tower. Can he go for the inside of Bobby's? Yes, he can, but Rob Hall can do that as well. So the door was not just closed, it was locked and bolted. No chance there for Higgins to find a way by.
No, the beauty of Castle Combe, it's such a wide circuit. It's the second widest track width in the country after the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It's just fantastic for this type of close wheel-to-wheel racing. You can pass both sides at all times.
Roger Orgy is the next man trying to gain ground. Then as he comes over the timing line, the black and green Van Diemen, there he goes to the inside. He lines up to try and have a move, but nope, door closed ahead of him. He's under pressure as well because right up behind him is Felix Fischer. That car zero, and Fischer goes round the outside. Is that going to give him the place? They come back into view, almost overlapping, but no. Roger Orgy hangs on in there to the inside line as well. Looks sideways. 27 getting very crossed up. David Vivian, he's always a spectacular driver. Just avoided contact there, but that was a bit close.
It was very close. Brave move by Felix Fischer to go around the outside of David Vivian, especially at Quarry, but Felix is somebody who's really lacking track time in his car at the moment. He tested here on Thursday for the first time, ran a new engine in, had some problems, only did one lap in qualifying this morning before the car ground to halt with electrical problems. So really these are the first competitive laps he's run this season, and he's pulling himself up through the order.
And a place gain, look, he's ducked up the inside of Roger Orgy going through Tower, so that now puts Felix Fischer into the top 6. Higgins, meantime, is all over the back of Rob Hall like the proverbial rash as they come out of Bobby's, now down towards Camp Corner. Just under 4 minutes of the race to go. Now up front, Stephen Jensen is leading the way and looking as though a first ever win is going to come his way as Rob Hall thinks about the inside at Camp Corner. Marcus Allen just had to stick his elbows out there, didn't he, and hang on to the place, but that was a very serious move by Rob Hall. It was a late decision. He then realised it wasn't going to work, and of course the danger in that is he may have delayed himself as now Adam Higgins tries to line up and go on him. They head up towards Quarry, then nose to tail. Second, third and fourth as one, but while they're squabbling like this, so of course that's enabling the race leader to pull away.
It's enabling the race leader to pull away, but it's also enabling those cars headed...
There's Hall then. He's lost that place to Higgins, but he's going to fight back, James.
He is, and he's right behind Adam Higgins there, right in front of Rob Hall. And the two of them, obviously local drivers to the circuit, really putting on a fantastic show. And Rob Hall right up the tail of the Van Diemen RF90 of Adam Higgins, as the field is still headed by Stephen Jensen, and we see a little wild moment there at Tower, and into the tyre wall by James Hammond. That's in the Saxon Motorsport Miguel, and he's out of the race.
Absolutely, I was going to say that's the end of that, isn't it? So I'm afraid big damage. That's going to bring out a yellow flag over at that part of the circuit, so we've lost then that car. He was in 15th spot, James Hammond, but that is the end of that, and with a yellow flag at that zone of the circuit, what have we got left? 2.5 minutes. That's going to take away an overtaking opportunity, I'm afraid to say. Stephen Jensen though leads the race. Now David Vivian we have seen getting stuck in. He's now the quickest man on the circuit. He's towards the back of this little group of cars, David Vivian. 27 is the number on his car. There he is on the inside of Roger Orgy. He bursts into view and he gains a place, and Rob Hall has come into the pit lane. 35, Rob Hall down the pit road. He had worked his way into the leading 3, but I'm afraid problems for Rob Hall have brought him into the pits. He's not really going to be able to rejoin from there with less than 2 minutes on the clock, so it's Jensen ahead of Allen, and then a class leading Adam Higgins is in third place. tremendous drive this by Adam in one of the older cars in this leading group. But of course also David Vivian working his way into contention as well.
Yeah, David driving one of the Swift SC92 cars, and over the last 20 years that particular model of Swift car has really been the car to beat at Castle Combe, ideally suited to the fast flowing nature of this track, and again putting on a great show in a car that's based here at Castle Combe and run by the Wiltshire Motorsport College.
Now look at Felix Fisher lining up to have a go here against Andrew Jones, as you say, the local driver. Andrew on the inside in the white car, but the grey and red livery alongside is that carried by Felix Fisher. He can't find a way past. David Vivian is next as he turns his way through into the top 6 now as the leaders go by. We've got 1 minute and 13 seconds on the clock. Now Marcus Allen has just done the quickest lap of the race. He's 2/10 quicker than the leader Stephen Jensen. I think it might just be a last gasp effort here to put Marcus, the reigning champion, back onto the tail of Stephen Jensen. Can he deny him his first ever win? Here's the next battle to look for as Fisher lines up on the inside at Quarry. No, you don't, says Andrew Jones, who moves across there, slams the door in his face. The coach and bus company operator Andrew Jones hangs onto the place, and they work their way now up towards the S's. Now towards Old Paddock, clock ticking away, 10 minutes plus 1 lap. Looking at Roger Orgy now, having lost out to David Vivian. This is the fight for 6th and 7th places. Adam Higgins, a class leader, and David Vivian is his class opposition. He's second within Class B in this championship as there Fisher goes to the outside. He now needs to feint up the inside, coming out of the corner, which is exactly what Orgy is trying to do against David Vivian, who goes wide. Orgy thinks about the inside, but there's not really enough room, is there? Enough space out of the right-hander of Tower into the first part of Bobby's to really get up alongside.
No, it's actually quite a short run. You've got to be ideally positioned to make a move on that point of the circuit. But David Vivian will try, and he'll try every corner to go past.
And in fact, he's actually catching up to Andrew Jones, who's lost time in that little battle with Fisher. Fisher moves ahead of him then, so a change for 4th place. It's Jensen leading Allen, leading Adam Higgins 3rd, but now 4th is Felix Fisher. 5th, it is Andrew Jones. In 6th is David Vivian, and they're at the back of the train, the green and black car of Roger Orgy, whose father, of course, was a very successful single-seater racer in his time. There's Vivian, another challenge, another place, and it's successfully done going into Quarry. He's one of those drivers that never gives up.
He fights and fights and comes again. He's like a heavyweight champion. He just won't lie down. And every race he's flamboyant and exciting, and again showing what a great category Formula Ford is and offers this type of close wheel-to-wheel racing.
9 times out of 10 it works for him. I can think of 1 or 2 occasions at the Carnival where he's been bitten. We've got a spinner there, trying to get himself back into the race. That is Graham York with his Kevin Mills run Swift, a 1992 car. He has rejoined, but that's going to lose him a few places then. And he's about to lose another if he's not careful, as there is the race leading car. Stephen Jensen going to try and thread his way past the recovering back marker, who thankfully does get out of the way. So past goes Jensen, but the gap is coming down. Oh dear, they're getting in the way of the quicker car. Graham York, a bit disorientated after his spin, but look at the time that's been lost here. So Stephen Jensen is being caught, and there's 1 lap to go. The board is out, they go across the line. It's half a second between them. Now granted, Jensen lost time on that lap because of the recovering slower car ahead of him, but Marcus Allen is all spurred on now. Their 3rd is Higgins, but on this last lap, Marcus Allen could yet win the race. Yeah,
again, comes back to the fact that Castle Combe, you can just slipstream and keep coming back and back and back, and he's very, very close. 2 car lengths on the exit of Quarry as they go down towards the S's on the short run from the farm straight, and then on to Old Paddock, and there's half a lap to go, and again either spectrum here could win this.
The 2 of them are together, and not only are they evenly matched, not only could, as James rightly says, either of them win this race, they're also coming across traffic, aren't they? So with 3 or 4 corners to go, there you can see the back markers ahead. This might yet have another impact on the race, but Stephen Jensen, having started on pole position, is looking for a maiden victory. He's about 3 corners away from it now. Marcus Allen can't challenge at Bobby's because he's not near enough. He's probably got 1 more opportunity. That is at Camp Corner. He's got to get a good run out of Bobby's and then line up to have a go on the inside of the final right-hander of the lap. He's also got to bear in mind there's another race for these cars to come, so he can't afford to throw it off at the last corner of the race. Slower cars ahead, they won't catch them. Stephen Jensen leads the way, 1 corner to go, turns right, accelerates up behind the back markers, checkered flag at the ready. Stephen Jensen wins. Marcus Allen does the best lap of the race on the very last lap to finish 2/10 adrift. Adam Higgins 3rd and wins his class, and Felix Fisher comes across the line in 4th place. And lower down the order, we've got 3 of them still squabbling here. Look, diving into the last right-hander on the lap. This is what Formula Ford is all about. Everybody finds somebody to battle against. Ed Moore, number 7 in the yellow car, on the back then of Lloyd Hopes, and Ed Moore with the 2011 spec Ray just being denied a chance then to challenge. Now we've also got the Class C battle to resolve. David Cobbold leads it. He's only recently moved himself ahead of Ian Houston, and these 2 are pretty close together as they drop down towards us. Houston looks on the inside, but David Cobbold there, he's able to hang on to the place. They're going to be nose to tail coming out of the corner over the line, and just to win his class, David Cobbold, the gap between him and Ian in Houston, 0.3 of a second. And that was a race that did not disappoint. Everywhere there was action, everywhere there was some battling, and a great drive by Steven Jensen.
A very popular win there for Steven Jensen in the Spectrum. A well-deserved victory, but again, the winner of the day is really Formula Ford 1600, because it again delivered an absolutely top draw race here at Castle Combe.
Adam Higgins having rounded out the top 3, also taking his second class victory of the season. David Cobbold, as I say, was around the one Class C, and of course Steven Jensen wins Class A for the more recent cars. There he is, somebody else from a good racing family. His dad, Erling Jensen, former rallycrosser, and he used to rallycross against John Button, Jensen's father. And if you read one of the many books about Jensen, you'll find that in there the story is told that John rather liked the sound of Jensen as a name, having competed against Erling, and thought that's what I'm going to call my boy. So there's a tenuous Formula 1 link in what we've just seen here. But Steven Jensen is the race winner. Erling, his dad, doesn't race anymore, he concentrates on other things. But there you've got, coming down the pit lane then, Steven Jensen is the victor, but 0.2 of a second, a very, very narrow margin. And Marcus Allen, the reigning champion, doing the best lap of the race on that very final tour. Confirmation of the results then. The win for Steven Jensen, and it's a Spectrum 1-2. Marcus Allen coming home behind him. The Van Diemen of Adam Higgins in 3rd spot, Felix Fischer 4th, and then the spectacular David Vivian in 5th. Andrew Jones comes home in 6th place, and there's more to come a little bit later on in the day from FF 1600s. The sun shines at Castle Combe, a bumper crowd here watching a great day of club racing as this Motors TV Live race day continues. Very shortly we are going to have a huge grid of saloon cars heading out onto the circuit, but for now we've got the winning Formula 4 drivers having returned to the pit lane, ready to make their way shortly to the podium. One or two teams, though, facing the chance of a repair job here. James Hammond's car being one, and it all happened at Tower. He was involved in a battle, you can see, and as his French-built Miguel turned into the right-hander, he was on the outside line, just ran out of traction, round comes the back, and the only place you're going after that, crunch, is into the tyre wall, and that damages the front and rear suspension of the car. It's just about possible they might be able to get that back out for the second race, but I wouldn't put money on it. So big problems, I'm afraid, for James Hammond, and that put the man from Leicester in the Saxon Motorsport car out of the race. He's okay, that's the good news. The only damage is down to the race car, not to the race driver, but there you can see the broken suspension on the front right corner as the car is craned away. Well, the winning drivers are in the pit lane, and there to talk to them is Jenny Gow.
Thank you very much. Let's get our 3rd place man straight up. It is Adam Higgins. Take your 3rd step. In 2nd place, it is Marcus Allen. And taking the win, congratulations to Steven Jensen. Brilliant stuff, a great win. Let's talk to our top 3 actually. If you're going to come down, I'll start off with talking to Steven. There's no way I'm going to be able to reach you up there. Steven, congratulations, a really tight race in the end there.
Yeah, the back markers didn't really help me towards the end, but yeah, it was a good race. Felt I had control of it in the middle section, and then towards the end it did get a little bit closer. But yeah, it was good, exciting race.
And you kind of were pushing and almost made it, didn't you?
The car didn't quite come on at the start, and like I say, it came on later on, and we got a bit faster, but Steven got away, and he drove really well, so fair play to him. It was a good race.
Yeah, and let's just catch up with Adam as well. You've got lots of friends and family here, all very excited. A class win in 3rd place as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's the first time I've led a race for the first 2 laps. I mean, what a start. I passed a pair of them off the line. I thought, oh, great. The exhaust broke halfway round, so I've been struggling with power a little bit, but it was brilliant. It's to win the class and to keep up with them 2 as well. And I kept seeing Marcus have some moments. I was hoping he was going to take the other one out, but he didn't. So, but yeah, we got to do it all again this afternoon. So I can't wait. So
yeah, well, we can't wait as well. Brilliant race. Thank you very much. So from down here, everybody very happy.
Understandably so, and I think the spectators are going to be pretty happy as well here at Castle Combe.